I want to welcome everybody to Leadership Happy Hour. I was just think about the things that you like about happy hour. For me, it's hanging out with my friends and having a few drinks. So I've got my extra large tumbler here with vodka in it. I'm Chip Lutz. With me today is my good buddy, Phil Gerbyshak. Phil, I've known Phil about 4 years. And what I like about Phil, one, Phil is a fundamentally great guy. Just one of the nicest guys you're ever going to meet on the face of the earth. And coupled with that, he is wicked smart. Anytime, for me, I will freely admit that I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. And so whenever I get to my full brain capacity, I call Phil. I'm like, hey, Phil, what do you think about this? And Phil, as a good friend, will tell me if I'm, stupid, what I'm not doing right, and he will expand my brain a little bit.
With love. With love.
With love. He always tempers it with a little bit of love, which I like. What I also like is that Phil and I have in common is a Navy background, and Phil's been a leader not only in the Navy but in the corporate world as well. And he's been working on some pretty cool stuff as a leader. What he calls karaoke leadership, which we'll get to in a little bit. However, I want to just welcome Phil, and Phil, just jump in there, tell everybody a little bit about yourself, and you don't have to tell them how awesome you are, because I will make that abundantly clear during the course of our time together.
Not only did you also introduce me with that, which I appreciate, my friend. So I'm Phil Gerbyshak. I used to live in Milwaukee. I'm in Tampa, Florida now. And this is my first time, other than being in the Navy, that I lived away from Wisconsin. So I'm very happy to be in Tampa, where the weather is sunny and 75 just about every damn day, which is hard to rub it in, Chip.
We got 5 inches of snow 2 days ago. But keep talking. It's all good. Sorry for interrupting.
Well, this is happy hour, so I'm talking about my happy place, Chip. Yeah. Right?
Cheers.
Yeah. So anyway, so I've been leading really since I was 14 years old. I worked at a restaurant. I helped fill out schedules. I helped people train. I went in the Navy. I did some leadership there. I often got led. I wasn't always the best leader at all. In fact, my old petty officer in charge is my friend on Facebook, and I'm sure if you asked Mark Babcock what he thought of Phil as a leader, it wouldn't always be positive.
I think what's funny there is that a lot of people take themselves pretty seriously in the whole leadership realm. Everything you read, people write all the time, and it's all really serious stuff. But I think, a tad bit of humility, like you just showed, is fantastic as a leader. Simply because, we're all works in progress. Nobody's got a market on everything leadership wise. This is like there's a bunch of people. There's a bunch of different ways you can lead. So sorry for interrupting, but I thought it was important that I commented on that, Philip.
No, that's cool, Charles. So that's good. So I did that. I delivered email in the Navy and led folks there. I went, was a stockbroker, sold DSL, developed websites by hand, and then really got passionate about being a student of leadership. So started reading a lot of books, hanging out with a lot of great leaders, like Chip, like Lisa Hanneberg, like Rosa Say, read some Mark Sanborn stuff on the Fred Factor, some Ken Blanchard, John Maxwell, kind of Marcus Buckingham, lots of great leaders. And, really, I just continue to study it in addition to doing it, because I think, if we just look at the leadership coin from where we're standing, I think often we just see what we see. So I like to turn it around, see how others lead in other industries, and see what it means to them to lead.
Excellent. I look at myself as a student of leadership too, where I'm always, reading and, trying to learn a little bit more, figuring out new ways to connect with people. So I appreciate the fact that you're also a lifelong learner. Of those, do you have a favorite, author, leadership author?
Well, I would say you, of course, because I really
I would say me too.
I know you would. So, no, but really, your shit is funny, Chip. You're unconventional. That is really who you are, and I can relate to your stuff. Meaning, it's very approachable. It's very fundamental in how to approach it, and it's really all about people. So I love that. But if I'm going to say somebody other than Chip Lutz, I actually, of course, love another Navy guy, Mike Gerbyshak. His leadership is a fantastic read. it was one of the first books that I read and said, wow, this is really something I can use,
right,
and not just something that is hard to comprehend.
right. I used to use his book in a graduate class that I used to teach on leadership and organizational behavior. And the first time I read it, I was like, and not to say that I'm Mike, but I was like, we paralleled each other so much in the way that we approach things leadership wise. I was like, hey, he could be my brother. This should have been my book, except I never was CEO of a ship. So there you go. It would have been like, instead of this is your ship, it would have been like, this is your chip.
It's your chip. Yeah, that's what your wife says. So.
Exactly. So I didn't know you had my room bugged. Anyway, for me is a favorite author. I like Mike, but I was always I was a big Maxwell fan. I liked his stuff, and I really like Max Dupree. His book,
Leadership is an Art.
Yeah, Leadership is an Art is a fantastic book. Simple read, but so poignant. And what I really liked in there was, the concept of not only servant leadership, but covenantal leadership, relationships between people. That, people that we build these covenants with people by the things that we do and the things we don't do. And the covenants are very easily broken. So, and hard to build. So, I appreciate that.
I'm a big Dupree fan too. I just want to plug one of his books for him, and that is, if you're a nonprofit leader, especially if you're the president of the board or the person in charge, I encourage you to read And Give to Your People, Called to Serve. It's a little known book by Max Dupree, but it's fantastic about nonprofit leadership, and really helped when I was president of boards. It really helped me lead better, and really helped get my point across to my other board members in a non-threatening way. Instead of just saying, hey, here's Phil's way, it was really, hey, here's a guy that you probably heard of, respect a lot, and it's his way. And it's really easy to read, just like Leadership is an Art. Leadership Jazz, his other book, but Call to Serve is great too.
I'll check that out. I did not know that book was out there. I have learned something new today. Yay.
Woo-hoo.
Woohoo! All about learning more stuff. So,
drink
out the cheers. Well, there we go.
Cheers to learning.
So you're rolling out a whole new program called Karaoke Leadership, and I know we talked a little bit about it, but I figured that, it's good for everybody to hear about it, because you and I have karaoke together. And let me tell you, all my friends listening, that angels wept that night listening to us. I think it was more listening to me, because Phil was right on. He was right on. He was like, he was singing, you were on me, God for the money. He was like doing a little dance and everything. However, angels were weeping, and so were everybody. So was
I think that's your wife, Chip. Gwen again was weeping. Yeah, she still cries about that. She does.
She loves it when I sing. So, tell me a little bit about karaoke leadership.
Yeah, well, karaoke leadership, the whole fundamental principle behind it is, often we're called to lead other people's teams, and AKA sing other people's songs. There's nothing original under the sun unless you're starting a brand new position in a brand new company. Some of you are, that's cool, but you still have the founder's dream behind you, the founder's vision. And as a leader, we're often called to be part of a bigger vision, a greater vision than ourselves. And that is really the principle behind karaoke leadership. Understanding, first, that you have backup singers or people that contribute to your success. You have a song to sing. For that song, it might last 3 minutes. Sometimes, hopefully not, it might go longer. But when it does, right, you have to be flexible. And sometimes, sadly, it's not in a key that we expected, right? I think I'm going to lead a team one way, and holy crap, everything shifted another way, and now I'm called to lead this way. Okay, so how do I handle that? And then, again, remembering that often our job, as much as it is to inspire, but it's really also to entertain our team and to keep them interested in the job at hand as a leader. So that's really kind of the fundamental principles in karaoke leadership.
I like that, because everybody's got a boss. And your point on that, you have to sing, their song. Yeah, it's pretty true. I mean, you can, sing it your way. Maybe
That's right.
maybe put your little, spin on it, do a little Christina Aguilera, moving your hand up and down, whatever it is. Exactly. However, in the end, it still is somebody else's song that you're singing. That's a fantastic concept. I really like the way you put that. And so, really, it resonates with me quite a bit. So in that, are there like different points of, like George Bush would say, different points of light within the structure of that?
Yeah, well, of course, right? So when we think about, right, other people's songs, first we have to understand their language, right? Well, how do they sing a song? So that's being a consistent student of leadership, being a student of your boss, being a student of the person that came before you, being a student of the CEO, understanding, right, what is the fabric that weaves through the organization, because that will then help you to sing your song your way, right? So you might get a minute in the spotlight where you get to play your song, but I can tell you, if you're that far off key or off message or off vision, they're going to boo you off stage, even if you're right. So you have to package the message, package the song in a way that's appealing to them. And then you have to make it so that they can sing along, right? So if other people don't know the words, they don't know your vision, they don't know how they play up into your picture, into then the big picture, they're not going to play and they're going to lose interest. So I really took this project, this eventually what will become a book, as something that, I've karaoke'd a lot, and I watch how people are successful and I watch how people aren't. And if they don't get their team involved, if they don't make nice with the karaoke meister, or if it's a live band karaoke and they don't let the band count off and do their thing, you're just going to totally screw up. So really, it's a parallel for a lot of the screw ups that I've had as a leader and how I've learned to be better.
I didn't know that there were live band karaoke's.
Oh man, it is so awesome! I'm hoping actually in May or April to do one down in Orlando.
I could imagine that would be. It's one thing to sing a song that you pretty much know, because normally, when you karaoke, you're going to pick a song that you know. I mean, that's you're not going to pick something you don't know. However, to be with a live band and have that element of unknown in there, that would be super crazy.
Yeah, but really though, that's your team, man. When you think about it, you have a band that's unknown unless you spend time with them. So that's why the first time, likely you're going to try and fail unless you spend some time up front figuring out, how do they play? How do they play this particular song? And it's important that you study before you practice. Because I can tell you, when I first became a leader as a VP in an IT organization, the first thing I went in, I wasn't a leader but a week, and I decided to change everything. Well, what the heck good does that do? Because nobody's going to follow you. They're like, why did we do that? Right? I mean, every idea might have been crappy. I'm not saying it wasn't, but I'm not saying it was. Right? Yeah. I thought it was, and I wanted to make it my way. Well, hey, you know what? There's a reason that Frank Sinatra sang that song, because it ain't mine. Right? So I need to learn, how do you make it my way? How do we do that? Because I would go to conferences. I would bring back, 80 pages full of stuff. And my boss stopped me one time. I was going through, I'm like, hey, here's what we're doing. Here's what we're doing. And flipping through. She goes, stop. She goes, so what's one thing you're going to do this week? I'm like, I want to do all these things. She's like, well, that's great, but you tried that, and that clearly didn't work, dude. Yeah. So let's try it this way. Yeah. Let's try it from that one.
When everything's the priority, nothing's the priority.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Every time I've gone to karaoke, the hardest part was getting the first person up there. And, once the first person got up there, then it was a party. But up until it was always like, hey, it's time to karaoke. And then it's like crickets. Chirp, 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 chirp. You see, to me, I would think that would be an important element, because I would say if you want others to follow, go first. And I think that, as far as karaoke goes, like if you want your people to get up there and, belt it out, whether they're in tune or not, I mean, you better be up there doing it first. You see that as being an element? Yeah,
I totally missed that one, Chip, when I was talking about it, but absolutely right. Leaders go first, and often that means they go worst. Meaning, right? It's true. Because if you're the first karaoke person, right, the sound isn't tuned yet. Not everybody's there. So often leaders go first and worst. But then I want to remind you, it's all about the lasting impression. So leaders also go last. And if they're smart, right, they'll bring their whole team up with them and they'll all sing together the last song and talk about how that made them feel. Now, some are going to not be squishy and they're going to say they don't give a crap. But most people on your team are going to feel something if they've all watched you perform and the others on your team perform, and you've made sure that you've taken time to be specific in the feedback that you give to each person, each compliment, because especially as a new leader, you're going to find what's wrong more than you're going to find what's right. So focus on the positive. You know, I call it 5 pennies of feedback. Every day, invest a nickel in your team, 1 cent at a time. Put 5 pennies in your left pocket, give a good piece of feedback, transfer the penny. At the end of the day, you invested a nickel if you gave all that feedback away. And if you didn't, you need to give more tomorrow. So that's how it works.
Hey, another part I think that makes karaoke really great is copious amounts of alcohol.
Yeah, so is it time to drink, Chip?
Cheers.
Cheers.
Happy hour drink.
Yeah.
You know, because as the night progresses, I don't know what it is with karaoke, but people sound better. You know, I don't know if they're really sounding better or not, or it's just the alcohol that is like filtering my brain, but they sound better the longer that I sit there.
Yeah, and you think you sound better too, Chip. That's
maybe I've just desensitized myself to their actual tune, you know, their lack of ability to sing.
Well, we've tuned them out, right? After a certain point, we can cross from buzzed into killed, and we no longer pay attention. So that's the other thing. Don't sing one song too long.
I like that. Yeah.
If we're just singing the same tune over and over and over again, I mean,
me and Ivory. I remember actually doing that as a karaoke with a guy I worked with, and it really wasn't Ebony and Ivory. It wasn't 2 ivories. It was just it was us. That's what made it so funny, you know.
There you go.
Yeah. Anyway, so you got a book rolling out on this?
Yeah, probably sometime in 2017. Yeah.
Awesome. That means it's going to be good. See, if I were going to do it, I would be like, oh, I'm going to do a book. It'll be done next week. See, and then it wouldn't be a really good book. See, but you're taking your time making it a good one. I would be like, whew, I'm going to knock this book out next week.
Woohoo!
And then my mom reads it. Then my mom reads it. She's like, hey, did anybody proofread this for you?
No.
Oh, that's a true story. And then she offered to proofread my next stuff. So she did.
Awesome. Go, Mom.
Just, sharing some humility here. So, well, that's cool. I can't wait to read the book. I know that we've talked a little bit about it, but it sounds pretty good. I think another, really cool part of happy hour is when you talk some current events. Now, I don't like talking politics with people because I think good some friends. However, I think that you take the politics aside, just one question, all right? Looking at it from a leadership standpoint, everybody that's on the ticket, who would you follow?
Boy, that's a good question.
No politics.
Yeah. No, I know. Yeah, I know. I'm just thinking about that. So it's really hard because none of them have military experience. Mm-hmm. That is worthwhile to me. Mm-hmm. That is a sign of a great leader to me. None are particularly honest. Mm-hmm. I've seen a lot of that. None have, led large troop battalions, large, squads, whatever you want to call it, right? So it's really hard to say. I don't know. I have not seen a lot of leadership displayed by any of these guys. I will tell you, though, that I think if anyone I would follow would be Michael Bloomberg. And he's from New York City. Mm-hmm. He's got a lot of business background, and he's interesting in the fact that he has led large organizations. Mm-hmm. Of course, it's his own company, Bloomberg, right. But nonetheless, he's led large organizations to mm-hmm. profitability. And I think that's, that's impressive, far more than someone who's led them only right in the sewer, right? Like some others.
Yeah, I always go by, because politics aside, I always look for, that's one of the questions I ask myself is, who would I follow? Because as much as I've been a leader in my life, I've been a follower as well. Just like you were saying, is like, you always, singing somebody else's song. You know, everybody's got a boss. I mean, certainly we have to know how to follow. And so I always look like, who would I follow? And right now I have no idea. I always look for, you know, somebody that's a little bit more like, I attribute to like, I like my leaders with a little bit of moxie, but I like them to be like the gambler. You know, Kenny Rogers song, you know, the gambler, you know, think about like, you got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to run away. Oh, no, I know when to walk away, know when to run. As far as like somebody that's kind of cool, but they got a little moxie, you know, like, okay, I can follow that person. They got it together. And I haven't seen any of that as of yet. So
yeah. The other thing I haven't seen really is anybody who's put together a strong team of people behind them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because as leaders, we're often judged by by the people that report to us,
Mm-hmm.
by the people we hire, by the people we don't hire. And I have not seen any of them look like they're strong partners. Like they're people that would unite instead of split, which is a concern as well.
That's a good point. That's a good point. I mean, you got to know how to build a team. I mean, you know, politics aside, I mean, I think W, when he was a good team builder. I mean, he realized that, you know, he didn't have, you know, the whole capabilities here. So he built a team around him of people that could, you know, shore up his deficiencies, so to speak. You know, politics side, whether you like him or not, he built a good team. So, you know, it'll be interesting to see how, you know, it plays out the next few months. You know, I have no idea. I'm not excited about anything. So I just, you know, I was looking as far as who I could follow. And talk about career, you know.
Sure.
But I don't keep track of anybody who's running anything in Wisconsin. I have no idea what's going on here. I live here, but, you know.
Probably best, Chip.
I have no idea what was going on. So what else was cool and new in the world of leadership for you that you think is worth noting for people listening?
Well, I think, you know, this idea of social leadership is really a great idea, meaning a leader who is a very strong communicator, someone who's out there, who's a more, I don't want to use the word transparent, but I am going to use an overused word, and that's authentic, meaning they are who they are, they stand by their principles, and they broadcast them to their teams. Now, I am not saying that a CEO must be on social 24/7. I am saying, though, that a CEO must understand the new forms of communication, and whether they have an aide do that for them or whether they do that themselves, I think it's important to develop a presence and the practice of getting their message out in more ways than just email. Because the world of email has drastically changed. And now we see things like Slack, like these videos that we're doing, Chip, you know, some blab. We see, short form on Twitter. You know, we see on Reddit, there's like an Ask Me Anything. Again, those are just examples of different ways to communicate. You don't have to be active on those, but you do have to be in front of your people in a visible way. And this new social leadership just makes it a whole lot easier to do.
Interesting. I think the authenticity piece would be the key there, because I know a lot of people personally who are much different on social media than they are in person.
Yeah.
I mean, their whole Facebook persona and stuff, just, you know, it's a 180 from who they are in person. Man, you just finished. Okay, on. You just finished yours. Let me take another drink here. Cheers to me. You can't cheers me.
Cheers to us. Yeah. So, but I think it's not just about providing a greatest hits online.
Right.
Facebook, I know, I mean, I'm guilty of this. Most of us are, right? We post mostly the highlights, a few lowlights, but it's really a greatest hits compilation of our life. But when you're talking to your people.
Great analogy, by the way. That is a great analogy.
Thanks. Yeah. So, but when we're talking to our people, we have to have some hubris, right? We have to have that humility. We have to share that, sometimes things aren't great. And sometimes challenging them to do better. Like recently, the CEO of Restoration Hardware, likely in a memo that was never meant to be leaked to anybody, reminded his employees to do whatever it takes to make customers happy, and that they'll never be fired for acting on the best interests of their customer. That's pretty cool. And we need to see more of that, because frankly, we see plenty of leaders just ignore what customers say, or they only do it
Right.
when they get good press. And then you can just smell that crap from a mile away.
Yeah, I thought there was going to be a punchline to that because he said he wasn't going to be, didn't want it to be late, and then he was going to give the whole thing about do nothing. It wouldn't be punished for keeping customers happy. And then I thought you were going to tell me that, then they found, one of the employees, doing favors in the back room for, I thought that was going to be a punchline now on that, but you didn't come through on that, so I'm a little disappointed.
Sorry for not giving you a happy ending to my story.
This is happy hour. I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's like, I was waiting for the good part of the story. I mean, there's still a good story. I'm just waiting for the better part,
Oh, Chip, of course you are.
The better part of the story. That's funny. I never really thought about it, that because it's the whole social piece. Because I'm old school, the whole leadership by walking around, that's the best way to, get to know
Totally
your people.
agree.
But, the whole social piece, I guess if you're in too big of a place or too big of an organization or team to get out in person and meet everybody, to have that kind of presence where it's like, hey, this stupid thing happened, hashtag FML, whatever, I mean, it's something where it shows where, you can have a sense of humor about your own mistakes and, your people get it. I think it probably would be a really great way to bridge the gap between, your older people and your younger people. Because they're like, hey, this person actually gets it. It's not about just like putting out the policy or the plan or the procedure. It's about, hey, getting rid of the stovepipe and flattening the organization a little bit.
Yeah, well, and again, it's not to replace manage by walking around.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be clear. You still need to do that because the goal is to reach all of your employees. And if you get social, you now have an opportunity to reach more. Because
Right.
if you manage by walking around, seriously, you miss all your remote employees. Or if you do just one way talk at them, like a town hall where you close down all the lines except for the presenter, seriously, you're going to put me to sleep. Who cares, right? I mean, really. Or I'm going to mute you and I'm just going to do my work because that I must show up. So I am compelled, right? I'm in compliance. I don't care, right? I'm not bought into that. I don't have any commitment to your stupid meeting.
Right.
But instead, if it's two-way, right, and we can see you on video, and then we can see other people, like if we see Johnny over there picking his nose, well, we're like, hey, he's bored just like I am.
Funny story that actually happened. I remember when I was a division officer, it was when video teleconferencing was like brand new. We had 26 subordinate commands. And so we would do the video teleconference. And so we're all there and they didn't realize when they would make a sound, the camera would they'd be on. So here one of the commanding officers of one of the centers out there. I mean, yeah, he was 2 knuckles deep, like digging for buried treasure. It was awesome. I mean, you cannot buy entertainment like that, normally. I mean, especially because this guy was kind of a jackhole anyway. So just to see that, the old man, the captain, saw it and he was just like, shook his head. It was awesome.
Awesome. But at the same time, though, doing that shows to the rest of the team that you're human.
Right.
Sometimes, I mean, and a little bit of humility, making a joke about that. Like sometimes life runs late. If you address it and you're like, hey guys, I know I was 3 minutes late. I'm really sorry. As opposed to the other side, making your staff wait 20 minutes, wasting your whole organization's time, and then pretending like it didn't happen, right? That's the absolute wrong way to lead. And that's called the anti-social leader. You can read that book from, other unpopular CEOs.
Yeah. I had my last command tour up in Milwaukee. I was getting ready to retire from the Navy, and I had packed on a little more weight. So we had our dress blue inspection, and it was in December. And so I went in, and my car was low to the ground. So I went to get in my car, and the ass ripped out of my pants. I mean, honestly, I went to this rip, and then I'm 3 weeks away from retirement, and it's like I wasn't gonna go buy a new pair of pants. So my brother lived down the street. So, and he was in the Navy. So I called him. I was like, hey, you home? He's like, no, I'm at work. I'm like, man, I really need to borrow your pants. He's like, you're 2 inches taller than I am. How can you wear these? I'm like, I don't know. So I get to work. And I'm like, all right. So I got a couple basic options. One, I can just not do the inspection. I'm the commanding officer. I can do what I want to do, right? But it's not really setting a good example. I thought, all right, so I need to find a pair of pants. So I called my whole command and my whole team. And I was like, look, here's the situation. And I just like I turned around, I showed them like, my back of my pants, and there's like everybody's like bust out laughing. They thought it was hilarious, But they went out and they found me a pair of pants. They went through every locker in that building. They found me a pair of pants. Now they weren't the best fit. I mean, I was like packed into those like 10 pounds of crap in a 5-pound bag. However, I went out and did the inspection, and what was nice is that it's I think when you're able to do that kind of thing, like you were just saying, it not only shows authenticity, but it shows your humanness. That, hey, they're a person just like I am, and it makes you a much more approachable person. And in the end, that's what we're looking for. I mean, people will come to us when it's too late. We want them to know that they can come to us before something's a big problem.
Yeah.
And, they're not going to do that if they're all scared of you and stuff. So anyway, I just had to share my ripped pants story.
Yeah, but I'd also add to that, Chip, the fact that your team came to your aid says a lot about you as a leader, right? Many teams might pretend to look, but your team actually did. So you need to remember that, right? So as you're looking at that, not just you, right, but anybody, as you look at that, you can tell a lot by what happens in those times of adversity, both how a leader responds, how the team responds, how equals, how peers do, right? I can tell you that sometimes, I've been on conference calls where somebody is not on mute and you can just watch people just rip this guy apart.
Yeah.
And other times you'll see that somebody will cover for them and say, oh, hey, Phil, that's a great point. You should really look into that a little bit more, Phil. Like say the person's name a couple times oh, crap, I didn't even realize I was on mute. So right. You need to pay attention to that because, that's a perfect opportunity to see really where you really stand as a leader in those times that are too late.
Your own personal 360 review right there.
That's absolutely. Right. Yep. Absolutely. From nut to butt, you can see what's going on.
Cheers to that. Yep, absolutely. So I know that we've been on about 30 minutes, so which is a good time frame. So, make sure that everybody knows that they can find you at philgerbyshak.com and karaokeleadership.com. If you don't know how to spell karaoke, because I didn't, I had to Google it. It's Karaoke.
Karaoke.
Right. Now, before we end, I thought we'd end something more fun, so I'm going to ask you a couple would you rathers, Phil.
Oh, geez.
All right. I'm just going to open up my Would You Rather Overstuffed book. And, here's a good one. All right. Phil Gerbyshak, moment of truth. Would you rather slowly insert a 3-inch needle into your navel or have to stand on a fired up barbecue grill for 1 minute?
I hate needles, so I'd much rather stand on a barbecue grill.
Okay, that's good. All right. Would you rather, number 2, Phil? Would you rather have to wash your face every day in a heavy populated bird bath or have to always use the piece of toilet paper from the person who last used the toilet?
Boy, Chip, that's so delightful that you'd ask those questions. I'm going to have to go with the bird bath because human feces really is of no interest to me.
Okay, well, that's would you rather. All right?
All right.
Would you rather have a restless leg and a lazy eye or a lazy leg and a restless eye?
Oh, geez. You know what? If I was going to be cursed, I'll take what you give me. I'll take the first one.
All right. I just like would you rathers were the most fun we had like on family vacations.
Yeah.
It was a good time. Would you rather?
For sure. Yeah.
I was going to do because normally at the happy hour you would have like crazy feats of strength, but it's kind of hard to do on video. And or contests where I would like challenge you to go do something really, really stupid. And then because we've drank a lot of alcohol, you would say, okay. And then we would laugh about it the next year.
Yeah.
I would laugh about it if you actually did it.
There you go.
Yeah. So anyway, like I said, if you're looking for Phil Gerbyshak, you can find him at philgerbyshak.com. For me, you can find me at unconventionalleader.com. This is Chip Lutz. Thank you for joining us today for Leadership Happy Hour, Phil. Always a pleasure, my very good friend.
Indeed, Chip. Back at you, brother.
For those of you who aren't, watching this or that are watching this and not listening to this, my daughter thinks that Phil and I look like twin brothers. So I'll put my Phil smile on. It's the glasses and the the haircut.